everyone is preparing for their SSB. Hi, my name is Amol Anand. Welcome to my channel. Before we begin our journey, I would like to share something about myself. I was shortlisted for 106th SSC course, the Short Service Commission for OTA Chennai, which was held in Allahabad. I was a part of 11 SSB. Again, I was shortlisted for 107th SSC course, which was held in Bhopal lately. And recently I was detected with a disease called ulcerative colitis in my large intestine, because of which I'm medically unfit as of right now for the armed forces. Well, anyways, I recently realized how difficult it is to detach someone like me from army or other army related things, and I was looking for a good opportunity. I was approached by a lot of candidates who all are preparing for armed forces, and a lot of my friends, to share the expert guidance that I was provided with while I was preparing for my SSB, and a little knowledge that I have gained over a while. So I did some search on various platforms including YouTube, Google, and I realized that the content available there is a little scattered and not under a single head. Therefore, I decided to come up with this channel wherein everything will be provided in a much comprehensive manner, from screening in till the end of the day, the conference day. And well, I hope everyone finds it easy and simple to understand. So, not wasting much of our time, let's begin. So, guys, before we start, I request you all to remember my channel's name. It's The Olive Lane, so that you can search my channel easily. And you shall also subscribe to my channel, so that as and when I update my next video, you shall be notified. Alright friends, today we'll be discussing more about SSB in detail, as what exactly is SSB looking for in its candidates, and what all small or big mistakes we are committing there. So as mentioned, SSB stands for Service Selection Board, and it has various selection centers across the whole country to select best of the best candidates for its armed forces. I've seen a lot of candidates focusing on one thing more than the other, let's say psych test series or GTO or PI, the personal interview round. And believe me guys, this is a sure case for a failure, because board wants a balanced candidate. So simply sync of mind, action, speech is what actually SSB looking for. Any deviation in it is not acceptable for them. It might be first or the second time that you're giving this interview, but the board is an expert. Believe me, the board is expert. They can very easily find it out whether you're faking it or you're just being yourself. As mentioned, real character is found out in this interview technique. Very true. If you'll be faking it, if you're masking what you are actually, they'll get to know. They won't mention it, but you'll not be recommended. And if you're just being yourself, they'll get to know it. There is no shortcut to crack this interview. Actually, there's no shortcut to crack this interview. Very true. If you're planning to clear this interview just by watching videos like such, or you're just taking coaching somewhere or the other, it's not going to help you until or unless you're being honest to yourself and practicing it daily. Videos or any coaching center is just for reference. So now once that you have cleared your written, you will be given your call letters through email. Everything is mentioned in detail, like where you have to report, what time, how many pairs of socks, shirts, trousers, shoes, etc. you have to carry with yourself. Everything is mentioned in detail in the email itself. So candidates are either asked to report in the morning, which is 700 hours, or the afternoon, 1400 hours. And they must be reporting to MC office, which stands for Movement Control Office. This Movement Control Office actually takes care of the movement of candidates to the selection center, picking up candidates from the station itself and dropping them back. So now once that you have reached the center, you will be asked to keep your bags at one place, and you will be asked to get your papers or documents that you're carrying with yourself verified. Once the verification is done, you will be allotted your SSB center number, like 11 SSB, 22 SSB, etc. And you will be given chest numbers. After a while, you will see a GTO would come to your hall, and he will explain you certain things like your testing schedules, what your do's and don'ts at the selection center that you have to follow. So pay attention to what he is actually saying, and don't just keep talking to your friends. So pay attention and don't ask stupid questions to him. If you genuinely have any doubts, be free to ask. Remember candidates, one small mistake can actually lead to cancellation of your attempt. So now as mentioned, you will be asked to fill up the PIQ form. The PIQ stands for the Personal Information Questionnaire. You will be asked to fill this form, and this actually forms the basis for the whole interview process. Because before you reach your assessor, your PIQ form reaches them and you are judged accordingly. And if you're faking it, they'll get to know. For example, if you have written football as your hobby and you don't actually know the FIFA ranking of your own team, India, your selections might be doubtful. So I'll mention again, be careful while filling up your PIQ form. Don't commit any mistakes, no cuttings, don't behave like kids over there. Be presentable, be bold. In case you have any doubt, leave that column or a row until you are cleared that what exactly has to be filled in it. One small advice for all of you, please. Candidates, please don't worry about the number of candidates who all have appeared there. Rather, just keep focusing on your own abilities and practice hard. Repeaters might behave as if they know everything and they'll behave like judges over there. Had this been the case, they would have been recommended by now. So don't listen to anyone. Focus and trust on your own abilities. Don't be a judge. Let the assessors be the judge. I'm not saying that you should not be friends with anyone. Be friends with everyone, but don't forget what you have actually come for. So candidates, let's talk about day 1 testing now. Candidates arriving in the morning at 700 hours will have their screening test conducted that particular day itself, and candidates arriving in the afternoon will have their screening test the next day. Remember friends, the screening test is not conducted to select but to filter out candidates. So one small mistake and you won't be selected. So remember, you have to be flawless. Practice hard, be flawless there. There would be 2 tests in this screening test. The first would be OIR, which is Officers Intelligence Rating Test, followed by PPNDT as I've already mentioned in the slide, the picture perception and the discussion test. In this OIR test, there would be 2 sections, verbal and non-verbal, each comprising around 45 to 60 questions, and 15 to 20 minutes time would be allotted to you. Don't waste time thinking. If you don't know the answer, jump to the next question, as you are already short of time. In OIR test, candidates are given rating out of 5, where 5 being the lowest and 1 being the highest. So try to attempt all the questions as there is no negative marking. Once your OIR test is conducted and concluded, the PPNDT session would be conducted. The PPNDT stands for Picture Perception and Discussion Test. On a big screen, one hazy picture would be shown to you for 30 seconds, and you will be asked to write down a story within the 4 minutes of time allotted to you. And you must write the mood, the number of characters that you see in that hazy picture, their gender, what could have led to the situation, and what is the immediate outcome. Many candidates are not able to complete their stories in the 4 minutes time allotted. So don't worry, just remember your own story and make an ending around it before the group's discussion starts, because after you have written your story, after the PPNDT session is conducted, you will be asked to sit in a room where 15 to 20 candidates would be sitting in one room. So before the group discussion starts, you will be given your own sheets on which you have written the stories. So go through it. Don't listen to any other story or your friend's story, as you might fumble while narrating your own story in front of the assessors, which is a sure case of a failure. And then on the basis of this OIR and the PPNDT, candidates would be shortlisted for stage 2 testing. Remember friends, narration is the most important part in the group discussion, and for screening in, do not commit any mistakes there. Qualifying this test, as I've already mentioned, is the most important thing. Well, so again, as I've already mentioned, OIR stands for Officer Intelligence Rating Test, wherein verbal and non-verbal intelligence would be checked for each candidate. Spell check, analogies, synonyms, antonyms, etc. All such types of questions would be there. In non-verbal series, the patterns, figures, what comes next, what was before, such type of questions would come. After which the PP&DT would be conducted. After this PP&DT session is concluded, 15 to 20 candidates will be sitting in one room, alright, and one by one, each candidate will be asked to narrate his or her story. Before you narrate your own stories, you'll be handed over your own sheet of paper wherein you had already written you had already written your story so that you can go through it once more. Now, as in when the last candidate sits narrating his or her own story, make sure that you have initiated the group discussion. And even if you're not able to initiate the group discussion, that is totally fine because there would be a fish market created. And the group discussion does not last more than 60 seconds or 50 seconds. So try to give in more and more new points. And please make sure that you're not looking or making any kind of eye contact with the assessors. You will be instructed on this, and if you're not following their instructions, that you don't have to look at us and just pay attention to your own narration and the group discussion, and but you still commit this mistake that you are paying attention that what the assessors are doing, or if you're just having an eye contact wherein the other person, the person next to you, the candidate next to you is narrating his or her story, that's a sure case of a failure. And in screening test, as I've already mentioned, it's a filtering out the candidates process. It's a filter out technique and not selecting technique. So any small mistake will actually make you out of the stage 1 testing. So finally, after the group discussion gets over, the results would be announced and the selected candidates will be given new chess numbers for stage 2 testing, and the others would be allowed to return. So well, now welcome to day 2 testing. The selected candidates will be put through the stage 2 testing. The first test series in the stage 2 testing is the psychologist test, or what is popularly known as the psych test series. In this, there would be number of tests. The first being the TAT, the thematic apperception test, which is similar to PP&DT that you did in screening in. But in PP&DT you were shown a hazy picture, but here in TAT, the thematic apperception test, you will be shown clear pictures. 11 slides will be shown to you wherein the picture would be there, but the 12th slide will be blank, which is to be filled with your own imagination. Now there's a lot of myth around this. Many says that it should be in continuation to the 11th story or the 11th slide, and many says that there should be a new story depending upon your imagination. Now here's a trick to it. If you are able to complete the 12th slide in continuation to the 11th story that you have written, that's fair enough. But if you're not able to do it, practice 2 to 3 stories back at home and write any one of them when the 12th blank slide appears. Alright. Then comes the WAT, the word association test. In this, the 60 words will be flashed for 15 seconds each. With practice, you will be able to complete all the 60 words. But make sure that you don't have to make any negative sentences, and you don't have to avoid any negative words. Negative words like fear, loss, death. So you should not be avoiding such words, and make a meaningful and a positive sentence. Then comes the SRT, the situation reaction test series, wherein the 60 situations will be provided to you in a booklet, and you have to react on each of it in 30 minutes of time given to you. The time is very less, so the actual what you thinking or your actual reaction will come onto that sheet of paper. To become a master in psych test series, what you can do is you can buy any book for SSB preparation offline or online, and you can practice this at home, because this is something you have to practice daily so that you get everything within time frame. That you have to complete 60 words for WAT, which has to be completed in 15 seconds each. Then you have to write 12 slides, 12 stories within 4 minutes of time each. Then you have to write SRTs, 60 situations in 30 minutes of time. So you cannot do it until or unless you have practiced really hard. And to practice it really hard, you must buy any book for SSB preparation. And one more thing This is just an introductory video to the SSB, that what are different stages of SSB. Alright candidates, I'll be making more such videos for each day and each test, whether how it is conducted, for how it is conducted, I'm sorry, and what you exactly have to perform in it. So the last test in the psych test series is the self description. 15 minutes of time would be given to you, wherein you have to write what your parents think about you, what your teachers think about you, what your friends think about you, what you think about yourself, and fifth and the last, what changes would you like to bring in yourself. This test is very important as the psychologist tries to correlate your reactions on TAT, WAT, SRTs, that is thematic apperception test, the word association test, and the situation reaction test, to what you have written in the self description. And this same goes for thematic apperception test, the TAT. The number of stories mentioned in that TAT, the psychologist tries to correlate your stories that you have written in TAT to what you have reacted in the other three tests. So this goes vice versa. And if psychologist finds any deviation in them, then it would be an uphill task for you to get recommended. But if psychologist finds out any correlation among them, then you stand a very good chances of being recommended. And to get recommended, you have to practice and more practice, and that's it. So you just have to practice hard. Masking your responses or mentioning your reaction as told by coaching center is a failure again. As I've already mentioned, coaching centers or videos is just for reference. Until or unless you have your own touch in every answer, you will not be recommended. Now, the day 3 and the day 4 is for GTO, the group testing officer. GTO is all about how you perform in a group. Are you a leader? Are you a follower? Are you neutral? Are you shy? How you react in a group? Are you influential? Can you influence the group? Do you let others speak their mind? Are you short-tempered? Do you help others? All this is seen in GTO test series through various tests like group discussion, the group planning exercise, the progressive group task, group obstacle race, such tests which are conducted on GTO day 1. And the GTO day 2 is more about your individual abilities like individual obstacle race, the command task, and then comes the final group task, wherein the GTO gives a final look at each candidate. Now I'll be discussing more on these what you have to do in the GTO test series in the further videos to come, wherein what you have to do and how you have to perform in it. Now you must be realizing that I've skipped the interview part, but that's not the case actually. There is no fixed day for the interview. Candidates are given time to report for interview. A few candidates may be asked to report for interview on day 2 testing soon after the psych test series gets over. So for candidates with test number from 1 to 5, 11 to 15, 21 to 25, they stand a very good chance of being interviewed just after their psych test series gets over. But this doesn't mean that the candidates with other test numbers doesn't stand a chance of being interviewed after the psych test series. So what I'm actually saying is that you have to be prepared for interview all the time, because after the psych test series gets over, you can be interviewed any given time. So few candidates may be asked to be interviewed on the day 2 after the psych test series gets over, and the others may be on GTO day 1 or GTO day 2. Now after the GTO test series gets over, after the GTO day 1 and GTO day 2 gets over, the last day, the day 5, is all about conference. In this you don't have to do much. Your future is already decided before you step into the conference hall. In the conference hall, you will see the GTOs, the psychologist, and all the interviewing officers, including the president of the board, sitting in front of you. One of them might ask you the question if they found your selection to be doubtful. After answering them, you might be asked to leave. It is just for the final look at the candidates to arrive at a certain decisions. Results are announced by the afternoon after that, and successful candidates are put through medical. I would like to share some last minute tips with you guys. So some last minute tips like mugging up, learning new, or retaining new stuffs is again a sure case of a failure, because what will happen is you will vomit it there altogether. Instead of making sense to your points, you will try to add new stuff to it, to the discussions going on, even though it might not be making any sense to that particular discussion. So in my suggestion, it's a big no-no. Running after coaching centers again and masking your own abilities is a failure. As I've already mentioned, the coaching centers or videos are just for reference. You don't have to follow it by heart. So how to prepare? It might be a long process, but the right way to clear this interview. One must build awareness about his or her environment. By this I mean to know more about your own country, your neighboring countries, what is happening there, what currency is followed in all those countries. You should know the geography of Asia at least. And to do this, you should start reading newspapers, because newspaper is of great help, and substituting it with magazines like Outlook and India Today and all such things. Watching debates is also a very good thing, because that will help you in your group discussion stages. So well, again, as I've already mentioned, running after coaching centers and expecting that they will help you on everything with your all the preparation and even the current affairs, then you might be asking more than enough, because within the 15 days period they won't be able to help you like that. So basically, to clear the interview for the SSB and to become an officer, you actually have to work hard. Then I would also like to make sure that everyone who is preparing for SSB, they must start speaking in English from now, because if you're not very good with your English, just like me, I've been preparing for my when I used to prepare for my SSB, I used to read novels, more English newspapers and Outlook, such magazines like Outlook, India Today, and etc. So you should be improving your communication skills day by day, so that you can express yourself more effectively in the group discussions and the personal interview rounds. And then I would also like to bring to your notice the most important thing is to build awareness of the arms or services to join. For the arms or services that you're aspiring to join, like, you should actually know the news related to new procurements or inductions of new vessels, talks for a new aircraft, or all such things, basically various armed forces commands that you might be knowing or you might not be knowing. So if you want me to make videos on all such topics, please comment down below and let me know. Again, I'll always say to make sure that you're always presentable, and remember, your first impression is your last impression. So do not commit any mistakes. I repeat, do not commit any mistakes, and always be presentable and be bold. I would also like to tell you that I'll be giving my own phone number and my email ID in the description box, so that you can contact me and let me know what all such videos and what all doubts you are getting. Jai Hind.